Welcome to Bookmarked, the podcast where we explore the ideas in books that change how we see the world. I'm your host, Alex.
And I'm Ben. Today, we're diving into a book that's less of a how-to guide and more of a how-to-think guide for your finances. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel.
You know, Ben, for so long, the world of finance felt like it was just reserved for experts.
Right.
You know, people who understood complex charts and these arcane formulas. This book completely tears down that wall.
It really does. Housel's central argument is, it's simple but profound. Doing well with money has very little to do with how smart you are, and a lot to do with how you behave. He argues that financial success isn't a hard science.
Yeah.
It's a soft skill, where psychology is more important than intelligence.
And the way he illustrates this is through stories, not spreadsheets. He starts with a foundational concept he calls no one's crazy.
Yeah.
The idea is that we all make financial decisions based on our own, unique experiences.
Right.
Your view of money was shaped by the family you grew up in and the generation you're a part of.
That's such a powerful starting point. It builds so much empathy. I mean, a person who grew up in poverty will see the value of a dollar completely differently than someone who grew up with wealth. Housel says neither person is crazy. Their actions make perfect sense to them. Which then flows into his whole discussion on luck and risk.
Right, which he calls siblings. We praise someone like Bill Gates for his genius. And yes, he is a genius. But Housel points out that Gates was a 1 in a million teenager who had access to a computer in 1968.
Wow.
That's a huge element of luck. And then on the other side, you can make a perfect financial plan and still have it completely derailed by some risk event you never ever saw coming.
And because we can't control luck or risk, Housel argues we should focus on what we can control. This brings us to one of his most famous ideas. Wealth is what you don't see. Can you unpack that, Alex? It's a real paradigm shift.
Oh, I'd love to. We're so conditioned to think wealth is visible.
Totally.
The fancy car, the designer clothes, the huge house. Housel says that's not wealth, that's spending. True wealth is the money you have that you haven't spent. It's the car you didn't buy, the first-class upgrade you passed on. Wealth is the financial flexibility that unspent assets provide.
He has that brilliant line. When most people say they want to be a millionaire, what they really mean is, I want to spend $1 million, which is literally the opposite of being a millionaire.
Right.
Wealth provides freedom and options. Spending just provides stuff.
And the perfect illustration of this is the story of Ronald Reed, a humble janitor in Vermont. He lived this incredibly frugal life, quietly invested his savings in blue chip stocks, and just waited for decades.
Okay.
When he died, the world was stunned to learn he'd amassed an $8 million fortune. No one saw his wealth, but he had it.
And he contrasts that with the story of Richard Fiscone, a top finance executive. He was rich by every visible measure, a massive home, a lavish lifestyle, but he was driven by what Housel calls the never enough problem. The goalposts for his desires just kept moving. He took on huge amounts of debt to finance his lifestyle. And when the 2008 financial crisis hit,
Oh, wow.
all that visible wealth just evaporated and he went bankrupt.
And those two stories just perfectly captured the difference between getting wealthy and staying wealthy. Housel says getting wealthy often requires taking risks, being optimistic, but staying wealthy, that's a whole different skill set. It requires humility, discipline, and as Housel puts it, a dose of frugality and paranoia. You have to be afraid of losing it.
It's a survival mindset. And a big part of that survival is avoiding the trap of social comparison,
Oh, yeah.
which Housel captures in the man in the car paradox.
Oh, this one is so relatable. You see someone drive by in a beautiful Ferrari. You don't think, wow, the person driving that car is so cool.
Right.
Instead, your internal monologue is, wow, if I had that car, people would think I was cool.
Exactly. It's the futility of trying to buy respect. So if the goal isn't to buy more stuff to impress people, what's the point of building wealth? Housel has a beautiful and simple answer.
Freedom. He says the highest dividend money pays is the ability to control your own time.
Mm.
The ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. That's the true prize. It's having the independence to pursue work you enjoy, spend time with people you love, and just live life on your own terms.
And to achieve that, you don't have to be perfectly rational.
Right.
You just have to be pretty reasonable. This was a huge takeaway for me. For example, a purely rational model might say you should never pay off a mortgage with a 3% interest rate. But if being debt-free gives you peace of mind and helps you sleep at night,
Oh, absolutely.
that's a reasonable decision. A reasonable plan you can stick to is infinitely better than a perfect plan you abandon.
And part of being reasonable is building in a room for error. Life is unpredictable. The stock market is unpredictable. You have to plan on your plan not going according to plan. Having a safety net, whether it's an emergency fund or just not being 100% invested, is what allows you to endure the inevitable storms without having to sell at the worst possible time. It's what keeps you in the game.
And staying in the game is everything, because that's how compounding works its magic. Housel reminds us that Warren Buffett's success isn't just due to his skill, but his incredible longevity. Most of his fortune was earned late in life because he simply stayed invested for an unprecedented amount of time. He let the snowball roll.
The book is just filled with so many more gems, from avoiding the seduction of pessimism to understanding that tails you win, meaning a few rare, massive successes account for most investment gains. But it all just comes back to that one central theme: conclusive. Master your own psychology.
That's right. In the end, it's about the gap between your ego and your income. It's about knowing what game you're playing and not taking cues from people playing a different one. And I think most of all, it's about defining what enough means to you.
The Psychology of Money isn't just a book about finance, it's a book about life and happiness and figuring out what truly matters.
Now, here's a question we'd like you to think about, inspired by the book. Morgan Housel teaches us that true wealth is what you don't see. So, what does wealth truly mean to you beyond the numbers in a bank account? Is it control over your time, the freedom to change your mind, the ability to weather any storm? Or take a moment to define it for yourself.
Thanks for joining us on Bookmarked. Until next time, happy reading.